Accessing global tail link. Hello? Hi. How you doing?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. And I want to thank you for doing this interview about this book. Woo, this book is good.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to the world about my book.
Right.
Very appreciative of it.
Okay. Okay. So let's get into these questions.
Respected this opportunity.
Huh?
Thank you. I said I never expected this opportunity, so thank you.
Oh, that's that's what's up. In the way with the world is, it's only right for us to speak on this because privately, a lot of people talk about this, but publicly, it's like we okay with sit back watching us, fall under. Exactly.
Nobody wants to say anything about it because this argument is about popular things, right?
Right. Okay. Let me plug in this microphone real fast. Hold on, cause you talking low. Yep, that is so true. Okay. So my first question is, what made you want to write this book?
Well, I've been in prison now for 15 years in county, and being in prison and having time to, sit and reflect on my life and look at everything that has transpired, it hit me that my whole dedication to the gang lifestyle was practically me striving to be a failure.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And that is where the title came from. It dawned on me that, this gang banging out here I'm doing, I was just striving to be a failure. And I've never heard nobody put it like that. So I felt that I had to put it like that. I had to put it in words in this book where, people can read it, and when it all comes together, they'll understand when you decide to give your life to a gang, it's all going to be negativity and consequences. That's what inspired me to write the book. I wanted to help our youth and get the message out there. Clear cut. No sugarcoat.
I know. The title, I seen this on Amazon, and I was like, what is this about? And I read a little bit. I'm like, I have to get that book. The title alone had me like, I gotta read it because, sometimes we don't even know, the actions that we take and what we doing to our life. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, you touched on a lot of things in this book. You touched on a lot of different things, and it's kind of like, you know what I'm saying? If somebody's considering, they probably should consider reading this book first because they have no idea what they getting themselves into.
Indeed. I wish I had an opportunity to read this book, and as I was writing the book, that's what I thought. What are the things that I would have wanted to know before I decided to join the gang, or the things that I think are important that I should have known before I joined the gang? And those are the things that I put in the book: the betrayal, the lies, your friends turning on you, the no success plan, the no successful end game. It's just, it's striving to be a failure. And now that I'm older, I look back at it like how didn't I see that? Like, I was just headed in the wrong direction, and I knew it, but I was so deeply entrenched in it that I continued down the road until, I earned myself a 50-year to life prison sentence when I seen it in front of me. And this book is me, my targeted readers are the people that's thinking about it already out there. So when they read it, because they're already a part of the lifestyle, it should, wake them up because they're going to see what I'm talking about. And, hopefully it makes an impact, a great impact.
So you talking from experience. This book is from your own experience because I feel like, you can't talk about gangs unless you was in a gang. You know what I'm saying? You can't talk about that life unless you really walk them shoes. And, coming from somebody who actually, these are, real life situations and experience that you went through, if somebody is considerate, I think that it'll make more sense for them to talk to someone who actually did it.
Yes. And I'm still living it right now. I'm living the consequences as we speak right now. Right now I'm in quarantine. They got me quarantined in my cell because my son got coronavirus. And, you know, that's scary alone, you know, being in a cell with somebody with coronavirus. And, you know, that's killing people. But, you know, this is now a part of consequences that came with me deciding to, you know, go join the gang and be destructive.
Right. Okay, I want to get to some of these questions that I have for you. One of them
No.
was, in the book, you talked about the CDCR providing, priceless knowledge and tools. What, like, as far as the knowledge and tools that you gained from there, how did that help you with writing this book?
Well, it helped me write the book because it gave me the knowledge to understand why I was doing some of the things that I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there's several different programs that CDCR provide, and one of them is an insight course, and it basically makes you go back into your childhood and makes you try to understand why you were doing the things that you were doing. And these particular
Hey,
courses,
go in the room.
it was like,
Go ahead.
what do you say?
Oh, no, I was talking to myself. I can hear that. David, go in there. Okay.
This particular course was it's like life-changing for me because when I first came to prison, as I started to down on me that I got myself all this time, I used to beat myself up all the time, blaming myself like, look what you did to yourself, you messed your life up. But once I started to, get into those courses and started to understand my life, it made me forgive myself because I learned that I became a product of my environment. I only did what I saw. And, growing up in a household where gangs, drugs, and violence were all promoted, I didn't have too much of a chance but to turn out to be a destructive person. But now that I understand that, it's time for me to change. But that was one of the most valuable lessons that I got from CDCR along with the meditation.
Yes, you talked about meditation. You talked about how meditation really helps you, come up with, what you want to do as far as you writing books. I know you into, different things. Like meditation helps you. What does it do? It helps calm you, or it helps you gather your thoughts.
Yes, both of those. It helps me calm me. It helps me gather my thoughts. It makes me think clear. It makes my brain operate better. The meditation also came from a clinician who works for CDCR in the mental health program.
Okay.
This call and/or telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Her name was Miss Fox. I originally only went into the mental health program because I was in a hole. And if you're in a hole and you're in the mental health program, you get to keep your TV. So I told them that I was stressed out and going crazy. So they allowed me to keep my TV. But I started to talk to this lady, Miss Fox, and she started to teach me meditation. At first I thought it was pretty corny, just sitting there and breathing with my eyes closed. But I stuck with it. I made a promise to her that I was going to stick with it. And I stuck with it, and that meditation tool has been very essential. It helps me almost daily. I get distressing too much, sit on my bunk, get in my proper position and close my eyes, and I just focus on my breathing. And when I focus on my breathing, any thoughts that pop in my head, I immediately get them out and continue to focus on my breathing. And when I do that, it calms me down, it clears my mind, it enables me to not stress so much, go forward. And I love my meditation tool. It is a tool that keeps me out of trouble. It is a tool that keeps me growing. I'm very thankful for that.
Okay, that's good. Now, was it meant for you to break down the chapters of this book the way you did? Was that intentional?
I would say it was, but each chapter was wrote as I went. Like there was no set down and thought, okay, this is gonna be chapter 1, 2, 3. I wrote. I sat down and I had an idea in my mind about the book, and I sat down and chapters were created as I went.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
Oh yeah, that definitely answers, because the reason why I'm asking, because I feel like the way that you broke it down in the chapters that the way you designed it in order, it made sense. And in one of those chapters, you talked about a lot of people don't realize when you get a lot of time, or you doing time, people who took care of you, your loved ones, sometimes you can't say goodbye to them, like if they passed away or if they sick, you're not there.
Yes, and that is one of the my most stresses here. One of the things that stresses me out the most, as I talked about in the book, I have lost so many loved ones in here, and I know it's getting bad when it's starting to become, when it's starting to become numb to me. When I lose loved ones and I'm no longer crying, that's when I start to know that I've been in prison too long and it's starting to become numb. But yeah, that is definitely one of the consequences of being in prison. One of my biggest worries is losing my mother while I'm in here. So, we don't think about the things when we decide to be out there trying to be Mr. Tough Guy in the streets. Because when it's all said and done, family, they're the only ones going to be here and going to continue to.
Well, now, can you say that again? You said who the only ones that's going to be there when it's all said and done?
Moms and the family.
That part.
That's pretty much it. It'll surprise you. As I talked about this one guy in the book, this was a guy who I heard about my whole childhood. He was like a general in the neighborhood, and he was in prison before I was born. So, I thought this guy was like some type of cop breaking, and when I met the guy in prison, he was fragile. He was broken. He was sick of being in prison. And, he didn't have nothing. His whole family had died. He had been in prison 30 plus years. It was very sad to meet him because the glorified person that they talk about in the neighborhood is not the person that I met in prison. Wow.
And I read that's what really opened your mind and made you change the way you think completely.
Yes, that was a very defining moment for me. Because this guy was somebody that the words I actually came out of my mouth, I wouldn't grow up to be like him. Like, he was one of my idols. And I never met the guy, just heard about his reputation. Wow, when I met him, it was very humbling.
Wow. And didn't he tell you, the real reality of him, doing all that stuff and the consequences that he faced because he's been in there and he's still in there so long?
Yeah, he told me, he started it off with, you got to do what you got to do to get out of prison. At the time, there was a lot of things going on in the yard. I was in Pelican Bay, one of the worst prisons. And the yard, there was racial stuff going on. The older guys were sending the youngsters on missions to stab people and do all type of crazy stuff.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
He wanted me to, focus on getting out of prison. So he made sure he told me to not focus on the nonsense. So I won't end up, sitting in prison for 30 plus years like him.
Right. And one of the things that I like that you said in the book, and you said you either give up, give in, or give it your all.
Yes, that is a quote. That is one of my quotes from MB.
Okay. What did you mean when you said that? What do you mean by that?
Well, what did he mean when he said it? Well, he told me that he meant that whenever you do anything, either you're gonna if it's peer pressure,